Hello and welcome. We're Femme Noir. This show is all about women, specifically in film. We are going to review and analyze movies that are written by, directed by, or starring women, and we can't wait for you to join us. Tune in and listen wherever you listen to podcasts.
Well, hello and welcome back to Femme Noir. We are a podcast that reviews movies and analyzes films written, directed by, or starring women. We discuss their representation pertaining to the industry and what we see on screen. If you are new with us, we have a little bit of a structure that we like to go through, which is basically we're going to introduce ourselves. We're going to talk about some movies, movie news, or gossip that has happened since we last saw each other, things that we have watched or are excited for. Then we're going to dive into the film that we are reviewing, and we'll talk about what worked for it, what didn't, and then basically overall just have some fun again, and then play FMF, which is basically where we choose the men in the movie, the prominent men in the film. And we play Fuck, Marry, Friend Zone. Just a little twist on the idea of the friend zone and that it doesn't exist. And then, of course, we're going to rate the film. And then we do have a Patreon. And we have some Patreon VIPs that we're going to have to that deserve a shout out. So we are going to shout them out. And then we'll give you some recommendations of movies that we like or think are similar to this one. And then we'll just sign off with any updates that we have for you guys. This week we are reviewing Anna and the Apocalypse, just in time for Christmas. Whitney and I have our matching Christmas sweaters on right now. Well, they're not matching, they're just Christmas sweaters, but it's fun. We didn't plan it at all.
It was coincidental.
Which is honestly amazing. All right. Okay. So let's get started.
Do you want to start off with movie news?
Yes. I'm trying to think. Maybe you go.
Okay. So I've been writing down a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know how much I actually do want to touch on it. All of it though. One of the things that I have been seeing kind of a lot on my feed, because I talk a lot about comic books and I like comic books, is that Tarantino said that Marvel actors aren't like real actors.
They're not movie stars?
Yeah, they're not movie stars. Because people aren't going to watch Marvel movies for the actors. They're going to watch Marvel movies for the Marvel characters. So the stars of the show are, like Thor, Captain America, Iron Man. And to be honest, you cannot get me to watch a Thor movie if I was just watching it for Thor. I'm watching that for Chris Hemsworth.
I'm sorry. If Chris Hemsworth was not Thor, I don't think I would be watching it.
Aquaman is DC, but the only reason a majority of women went to go see that movie was because of Jason Momoa. Like, they specifically cast him.
I did not.
To appeal to the female audience.
Yeah, no, I literally was like, support Jason Momoa. Couldn't care less about Aquaman. Just to be honest.
The opening of the film
movie,
Yeah. The opening of Aquaman 2 was just direct pandering to women too. Like when he drops down in the sub, like dripping wet, shirtless, and then he like flicks his hair back and he does like that model Vogue look, like
which
right so at the camera.
Because it's still like it's pandering towards women, but still done through the male gaze, which I find so funny about like when they try to sexualize men on screen. And I'm just like, bro, like the scene that killed me in that movie was when he's like, he does like the whole thing in the bar, and then he's like walking into the ocean, but he takes his shirt off, leaves his pants on. He's already dripping wet.
Yeah.
And then like takes his dripping wet shirt off to jump into the ocean.
Yeah.
It's like, my guy, for starters, it was already wet. Like, the ocean wasn't going to make it more wet.
And I don't think an extra, like, what, 10 grams of fabric
And if you
is.
were taking off like the clothes because they were like heavy, like your pants are much, much heavier than
Mm-hmm.
your linen shirt.
Yeah.
So fun. So funny. And it's in slow-mo, of course.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
entire
it
scene
is.
is like 5 minutes long. Of him just walking into the ocean. But
Samuel
yeah.
L. Jackson has come out, though, and just said, like, um, he's gone against Tarantino. I forget exactly what he said, but he's just like, we take our craft seriously. Like, don't say shit like that.
I mean, that's fair. Because wasn't he in like a few Tarantino films anyway?
Yeah. Yeah.
Bro.
Pulp Fiction for sure.
Mm-hmm. It's like, bro, maybe like what? What does he mean by movie stars? Because am I
An
comparing
audience
them to
draw
like
is what it seems like. Like someone who can draw in the audience. Like people who the audience will go see the movie because that actor is in it.
literally what world is he living in? Like I can't think of a single Marvel movie that like doesn't have a main character in it that wasn't somebody that's already been well established and they're like, oh yeah, they're popular.
Original Iron Man, the first Iron Man, only got Robert Downey Jr. because no one wanted him in Hollywood anymore. He was an alcoholic druggie on his way to recovery, essentially.
Yeah.
And he was more or less burnt out at the time. Like not himself burnt out, but like movie studios just didn't want him. For like various reasons.
And that's
And
fine because it was the start of the whole thing. Like they
yeah,
actually changed the Hulk and Rhodey midway through.
yeah,
Like the
they
Hulk
did.
was played by Edward Norton in the
Yeah,
first one.
that's right. Yep.
And they just like never talked about how it's just suddenly Mark Ruffalo. Or that Rhodey is like a completely different black man.
Oh, I think She-Hulk. They were gonna bring back Edward Norton like in the finale for like
Okay.
a cameo to like make fun of the fact that they had switched actors.
That's kind of funny.
Um, but then I think it was like a scheduling thing, or they just decided not to do that because it's not about the Hulk; it's about She-Hulk.
Hmm.
So
Speaking of, apparently She-Hulk is now rated the horniest
good,
Marvel TV show out there, which like yeah, that's fair.
nice. That's a good one. Or that's a good rating to have. Um, but I think just for movie news specifically, do you know who Noodles the Pug is?
I have definitely heard that name before.
Okay, so we're on opposite sides of TikTok, possibly, but
Oh, was he the no bones guy?
yeah,
No
he
bones
is.
dog. What happened?
He passed away.
No.
Yeah,
He literally was so famous last year.
he was. He was so famous that the Pentagon heard about him. Like, I guess like some like big multi-star general was like started a meeting saying like it's a Bones Day.
Yeah, that was like I forgot that like that whole era like existed. And then like I don't know, a few weeks ago I said something like about bones and I was like, ah, it's a bones day. And then I was like, wait, where is that from? And then I was like, oh my gosh, the dog.
Yeah, Noodles the Pug.
That makes me sad.
Hmm. So if you guys have pets out there, give them an extra treat today.
Pouring out for the homie.
But do you have any news now?
No, I do think it's interesting that Wednesday broke the record now. They beat Stranger Things out for most hours watched,
Yeah,
which is
that's
crazy.
right.
'Cause, like, Stranger Things like broke the internet when it came out. Like,
Yeah.
literally had issues on the server trying
Yeah.
to get it to play for so many people.
I was one of the people. I watched 8 of those hours myself. I pretty much binged it all in one day.
We had a party.
Nice.
We just went over to a friend's house and we all just sat there and watched the entirety of like that last season.
Mm-hmm.
This was like part 1 and 2. We just did the whole thing.
Have you heard anything about the racism that people are taking away from that movie?
Which one?
Wednesday.
I haven't. It was kind of something that was like in the back of my mind while I was watching it, but only because there was the whole thing about like Tim Burton, and they were like in that interview where he said that like the reason he didn't cast people of color was because they didn't fit his aesthetic.
Yeah. Well, and then you have 2 black characters in this movie. Three. You have the mayor, his son, and then the siren.
And I was like,
And
literally like evil or
yeah.
villainized the whole time.
So, yeah, people really like the show, but they're done with Tim Burton.
Yeah, that's completely fair. I was surprised he actually like casted like the whole family instead of just Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like, he could have, and I would not put it past him. But I'm glad they didn't, because that was a good touch. Like,
yeah.
The fact where she like burns the guy's statue was kind of awesome, and I was down for it. Sorry, spoiler, but like that was super fun. Like, and it's just like, dude, the whole thing is about people that are like outcasts and on the edge of society. Like, you can't keep writing about outcasts and people on the edge of society as like your thing, and then not include people of color because they're like the primary suspects, you know? Like, they are the people who are the outsiders and outcasts on the edge of society. But yeah, whatever. Tim, stick to your freaking aesthetic. Whatever.
Agreed. But are you excited for anything that's coming out soon? Are you reading/watching anything you're excited about?
What's funny that is I feel like I finished a lot of the shows that I really like just kind of restarted again, like their newer seasons. So I'm definitely completely caught up with The Sex Life of College Girls, which is hysterical, and I absolutely adore that show.
Nice.
I'm watching Gossip Girl. I still don't know how I feel about it. Because I like the idea of like the glamorous like parties and stuff, and they definitely tried to be what I don't. Okay, this is the thing about this episode or this season like reboot of Gossip Girl is that the creators absolutely know that the first like generation of Gossip Girl was extremely problematic, like pitching women against each other, definitely just having like men that like raped women and then like they were completely forgiven for it and like sexually assaulted people, and it was just like, oh yeah, no, that was just like a thing, it's not anymore me, like redemption arc thing. And then they make this one and they're like, we're gonna have like people of color, it's gonna be queer, it's gonna be great, and we're gonna have different types of relationships. And then like the first season got flack because they have a black lesbian character and they literally just showed her like making out with a girl like one time, and they're like, okay, well there's definitely like a lot more to her character. But then like as it evolves, she also becomes the bad guy. And I was like, no, not only are you pitching 2 women against each other, you're pitching 2 black women against each other. And the entire first season was the 2 sisters, who are also 2 black women, pitching them against each other. That's so, like, tone deaf. But then the whole thing, too, is like, oh, we're so, like, woke and whatever. And I'm like, you guys, prove it maybe? Because they're, like, completely aware. They even say verbatim, pitching women against each other is so last year, but they're like, oh, but the crowd and audience loves it, so we have to do it. And like, you literally don't.
Yeah.
Like, don't make a show being like, we're gonna be different, and then do the exact same thing, but know that you're doing it. I'm not sure that's not what we meant. That's not.
I think that I wonder if they think that they're being satirical about it,
I know. I'm
and
like,
then
are
they're
you
absolutely not being.
subversive? Because like
Yeah.
it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for starters, you only casted light-skinned black people. The like polyamorous couple that you have is like also kind of problematic because they like basically force the one dude. They're like, no, we're not ready to come out, and they're like, let's stay in the closet. And then he's like,
Mm.
I want to be out with you guys. You guys said that like if we were gonna date, that like I was a part of it. Like it's not just like we're like having a threesome all the time. Like you both told me that there is no relationship dating wise between you two unless I am also a part of it. And they're like, so they're like all consecutively and like consensually dating each other. And you barely get to see them all together, like on
Mm-hmm.
an actual date and whatever. And like I know it's probably gonna be a little bit better because they finally like did come out, but like they literally forced the guy. They're like, you have to go and like still keep up your like having sex with random people and like one night stands and stuff so that like people aren't like catching on to us. And I was like, dude. And then when he does that, the guys are like, oh my god, like this one dude's like, oh my god, I literally ugh, I can't. He is like, either you have sex with me tonight or I text Gossip Girl that you got ace. And I was like, that's not a good sentence, like at all, or sentiment. It's like, because
It's messed up.
for starters, you can't blackmail people into having sex with you. That is
Yeah.
so screwed up, bro. Second, like that's not consensual. That's literally like
Yeah.
insulting someone. And then secondly, deciding not to have sex does not mean you're asexual.
Mm-hmm.
Like asexuality is a literal I am not sexually attracted to you. You still
Mm-hmm.
have sex and be ace. Like asexuality
Also,
and celibacy are not the same thing.
yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Celibacy.
Yeah. So
Mm.
every time I watch it, I'm just like, it's not working. It's still not working.
I totally forgot that they were doing like a new thing with Gossip Girl. But then the more you started talking about it, I remembered. I watched like maybe the first 2 seasons of the original Gossip Girl, and then it was just so bad that I couldn't. I had to stop.
Sometimes I go back and watch like certain episodes because I'm just like, holy crap, how did we just like this was so popular.
It was.
Believe. Because I think I was talking to someone about like an iconic scene from Gossip Girl. Oh, it was that one that Thanksgiving dinner scene like episode that's kind of like it's so awkward and the tension.
If it was in the first 2 seasons, I saw it. Otherwise, I probably haven't.
It was either the second, like the first two, or possibly the third season. I can't really remember, but it was insane. I was just like, wow. But I think I started going back and watching it because of on my TikTok recently that's been trending is this person that's like scenes that were written for like teen shows that are like absolutely like crazy or something. And they
Mm-hmm.
just give you like it's so funny. There's like a Glee one and like oh my god, it was so funny. And like Pretty Little Liars. And they were just like, bro, how did we just let this happen on television? Hang on, I sent it to someone. I'm gonna play it if I can find it.
Mm-hmm.
It was so funny. I was like, oh, I have to go back and like watch some of these because I can't believe we just let that happen. Ah, here we go. Ready?
Yeah.
Which is why I'm going to stop drinking. Not even a beer at the end of the night to take the edge off. But if you don't drink, what will you have to live for?
I have plenty of my life without beer.
Like what exactly?
The point is,
You cannot do a nude scene. It's not a nude scene. It's just a topless scene. Same thing. Topless is as nude as anyone is ever going to want to see.
I don't know what happened between the two of you in the past. Honestly, I don't really care. It's all puppy dogs and rainbows from now till the show closes.
Well, at least we know who the rainbow is and who's the dog. Wow. That sounds really not romantic and also very, very gay.
You're late.
No, I overslept. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. I just have this weird guilt trip thing about being friends with you because I was so awful to you in high school. Gwen and Britt hated you too, and that's mostly just because you sucked so bad and you walked with that weird feet pointing out thing. I want to get married.
I have June. Why are you talking?
Can I say hello?
I guess Santana told me never to speak alone with you because you tried to steal all of my gold, which is why I'm going to stop drinking.
What, bro?
Aren't they all supposed to be like high school students too?
That was all just Glee. That wasn't even multiple shows. Oh my god.
Dang.
It's incredibly funny. Like, I can't stop watching them.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I also can't stop watching? Criminal Minds.
Oh, okay. I don't have
Came out with
Paramount
season,
Plus.
and I'm not gonna lie, I love it. As I always have. It's
Yeah.
a great show.
I have thought about rewatching Criminal Minds because I think some of it's still like on Hulu or Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, and since I can't watch the new stuff, I might as well watch the old stuff.
Yes. Which
Is Spencer Reed in the new stuff?
I don't think so.
Damn,
I don't
he's
know
my favorite.
how long he hasn't been in it.
He was in all of the old stuff for sure.
Oh yeah. Like, I forget which season it was, because they continued making seasons up to like,
Mm-hmm.
well, they had to take a break because of the pandemic, but it was basically they stopped in 2020 and now they're back 2022.
Mm.
But yeah, it's very interesting. Like, and because now they're on Paramount Plus and they're not like on syndicated networks, they can cuss now. Like, for real. Yeah, it's great.
I'm not watching anything super exciting right now, and there's not really anything that is like immediately on my radar. But I am listening to an audiobook, and it's called She Said by Jodie Cantor and Megan Twohey. And it's about...
It's out right now, isn't it?
Oh, is it? I thought it was coming out. Oh,
it might still be coming out.
It's December.
Because it came out, or like, I just remember it was, we had the option to see it when the San Diego Film Festival was in town. So I don't know if that's just me thinking that it was out already, or...
If I knew that, I would have gone.
I wanted to go, but I was busy.
Yeah. But I'm listening to the audiobook of the book that inspired the movie. And it's all about finding and interviewing and writing the article that exposed Weinstein and his sex assaults against all the girls, and how he like paid them off and like kept them quiet, and how he just spent decades in Hollywood taking advantage of women and hiding it, and how everyone knew and then just wasn't doing anything about it. And it's crazy. It is such a good read. I think it's one of these books where it talks about a lot of really hard subjects, because it's talking about sexual assault, it's talking about rape and power imbalances and just women being taken advantage of. But the way that it just kind of like lays out the systemic like abuse that women have to go through in the workplace, and the fact that even if we report it, there's not a lot that's going to be done. And pretty much like at the time, the only thing that these women could do is get like a payout, and then they couldn't do anything else. Like, they'd get like a little bit of money, and then they can't talk to the news, they can't talk to friends and family. I mean, I'm sure that they'd theoretically be allowed to like talk to a therapist, but like essentially they're not allowed to talk to anyone about it. Like there's this one woman whose husband didn't know that she had been abused. And then right before the article dropped, this mom had to sit down two of her daughters and just be like, hey, the article's about to come out. This is what is in it, and you're gonna hear that like all this stuff happened to me. And then her daughters are just like, we had no clue. Because they're not allowed to like rely on anyone. They can't like talk to each other about it. So he essentially just like blackmails these women into staying quiet, because if they say anything, or if they come forward, or if they try to like sue him, he ruins their career. He ruins them. And I'm really excited for the movie because they're definitely gonna fictionalize it. Like it's not gonna be it's gonna hit all the important beats of what they had to do in the investigation, but because it's a movie, they're gonna definitely like shorten a lot of the time frames and time spans, most likely, and they're gonna make it seem rushed. They're gonna make it seem high action and more like spy versus spy intrigue, I think is the word I'm looking for.
Well, because isn't it like being made by the same people that did Spotlight?
Oh, I hope so.
I think it is, because that like they did that movie really well. I think it actually won a few awards, but
it did, yeah.
Because that was the Boston Globe, Chicago.
I don't know.
Boston. It was the newspaper that broke the story about the
priests.
The priests.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're doing She Said as well. Or like it's at least produced by the same folks that did that one.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so. I think they handled it really well for Spotlight, and I hope that would carry over to this one. I mean, just watching the trailer for it, it definitely seemed kind of like faster paced than this book is, because this book, it's pretty slow, to be honest. Like, it's just like, oh, we heard about this gal, we talked to her, but everything's off the record, and we can't say anything because it's off the record.
It's all,
and then they go through that with like 8 women, and then finally someone's just like, you know what, I will go on the record.
Yeah.
And then once they do have that one person on the record, they kind of get like little bits and pieces here and there. And then the article comes out. And that's kind of where I'm at right now, is the article literally just dropped. And so it seems like fuck, what am I gonna say? So it seems like things are gonna speed up a little bit more.
Okay.
But I also only have I think it's 2.5 hours of the book left. So.
All right. Well, is there anything else? I'm trying to think.
That was kind of my big stuff.
I watched so many things, and I think I remembered thinking to myself, "Oh, I should remember this for when we're recording." And I feel like I have not remembered any of them.
I know one of the things you sent me was the Avatar franchise. Where, if this movie flops,
I was like,
he's not gonna
10 years to come out with this one, for real.
Yeah.
That's funny. I'm not even I don't even want to see it now. It's been so long that I just don't care.
I think, so people only saw it because it was a beautiful film, right? Everyone can admit it's a gorgeous film. Yeah.
Well, because once the first movies to be made on IMAX. I remember there was something technologically, or for Blu-ray or something. It was one of the first movies technologically that kind of launched us into the whole CGI stuff.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, and I think you're right. I forget what it is too. I I feel like it's not IMAX because what it is they did have movies filmed the way that they had filmed that one before.
Yeah, I was like,
But
it's
they
not a
just
CGI
weren't
thing. It
the
was like a
big summer blockbuster films because like whatever they were touting it as, they had done films like that before. It's just it wasn't that big James Cameron summer blockbuster type of movie.
all right, Avatar and why it was important when it came out. Forget what it was. Okay, yeah, it was new technology, like new capture animation technology for the faces of like the actors and their expressions into the like characters for when the animators like would do it later in post. And then it was a new texturing and paint software. That's interesting.
Hmm.
And also one of the movies that kind of put 3D on the map.
Let's be honest. Spy Kids 3D was the best 3D movie we're ever gonna get.
Literally. That's why I thought it was IMAX, because it was IMAX 3D. That was the thing that like kind of launched. Because it was like it got re-released as specifically and exclusively in 3D in
I
theaters.
remember that.
Because I was like, that's when they started putting those things in movie theaters, the like IMAX 3D experience, like seats and
Yeah.
lobbies.
Yeah.
That's basically just like being at Universal Studios, but in a chair that just vibrates.
Mm-hmm. I was working at the theater when Avatar first was released. And not even just the re-release, like when it first came out. And I hated that movie with a passion because of the crowds and the families that came in to watch it.
I remember that one had a midnight release, and that was the first midnight release I ever got to go to. My dad took me to see it.
Nice.
He fell asleep, which makes sense because it started at midnight, and that was like 3 hours long.
Yeah, it is long.
Which was like significant at that time, and now every movie is just almost 3 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he fell asleep during that. And then that was the movie they would play. They would put it on like all the TVs when you went into like department stores, or like for us, we went into like the PX or like the Exchange. And
Yeah.
the entire electronics department would just be Avatar on all of the TV screens.
Mm-hmm.
We would just sit there and be like, okay, yeah, go look for that like DVD software thing you have to upload to your computer. We're just gonna sit here and watch Avatar. We're just like sitting on the floor, just watching Avatar on like 20 screens. What a time to be alive. I kind of miss that, where they just showed like random blockbuster movies on the displays. It was fun.
I liked when they showed Harry Potter.
You would just see like some random movies too. I remember some movies I specifically would be like, what was that movie? I was kind of enjoying that. And then I would like go home and be like, okay, who was the actor that was in there? And then I would try and like Google it, and then based on like the synopsis of like the either the synopsis or like just the photos, like screenshots of the movie, I was like, okay, if it's a similar aesthetic, this might be it. And then when I would like watch the movie and wait for the scene that I saw to be like, yes, it was this movie.
Nice.
Anyway, if you couldn't tell, I really liked film as a young child. It's crazy.
That's it for me.
I think Avatar actually may have been one of the first like big movies. So not only was it like the first release, a midnight release that I went to and like got to stay up for. Well, I think it was also because it was rated R, wasn't it? It was the first rated R movie I went to, and we went to the midnight release.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I was like, it was important for a reason. But yeah.
I gotta look that up.
But I think it was also one of the like first movies I remember like catching the release of in theaters. Like after we moved back from Japan. Because like in Japan we had to wait a little bit for movies that had like been released in America. because we're on an American base. Like, we can just go to the Japanese cinema.
Mhm.
Didn't speak Japanese, so they didn't have like translators. So we would like wait a little bit, and then we would be able to see the movie like in English when it got to military bases.
It's PG-13.
PG-13. Interesting.
Mhm.
Oh no, that would make sense because I would have been around 13.
Jesus. My first midnight release was Lord of the Rings. The first one. Fellowship of the Rings.
OMG.
I think that was like in second grade. My best friend was she was a Lord of the Rings fan, diehard fan. And she was super excited that the movie was coming out. And so she brought me along and was just like, "You're gonna love them too. Like you'll love it. It's amazing." And then I think I fell asleep during it. I know I didn't like it. Like I thought it was boring because I'm a second grader trying to watch Lord of the Rings at midnight. And then the second one came out, and I know for sure I fell asleep during that one. And then they didn't take me to the next one. Because the second one they took me to was also at midnight.
That's hilarious.
So, yeah.
I remember at sleepovers, my friends would be like, "Let's watch this one," and I was like, "I've never seen it," and they're like, "You haven't seen Lord of the Rings?" And then they were trying to get me to like love it, and I was just like, And I still have this issue with Lord of the Rings to this day, where every single time I watch it, it's like watching a new movie. Like I cannot remember any specifics. Like all I remember are vibes. That's it.
It's a very pretty film. It's a very pretty film. It has great cinematography, great acting, all the technical details, lovely. I just don't like the plot.
If you
I love fantasy, I don't like that plot.
Right now, like I literally can't remember anything except for the fact that like for some reason there is a ring that makes people evil. And then there was Sean Bean.
So, and then there was what?
Sean Bean. I don't
yeah.
remember anything beyond that. And like you shall not pass.
Oh yeah.
So 3 things.
I mean,
I can remember about the whole thing.
That's almost it. That's almost everything you need to know, except for the fact that the whole movie, the whole trilogy is about destroying the ring. That's it.
Yeah. Do they ever actually do that?
Yeah.
Does it get destroyed? Oh, that's
yeah.
good.
The worst part...
why there was a ring to begin with, or why they even started the journey. Because like
I do know those answers. I don't.
Right?
Yeah, I actually know those answers. Okay, because I know those answers because so that first friend Becky, we ended up drifting apart naturally because as you grow up, you tend to drift from some friends. She ended up going to a different school, and we lost contact because that was before cell phones, before kids had cell phones, and then I ended up making another friend who was Katie, was just as in love with Lord of the Rings as Becky was, and has made me sit through the extended versions of.
There's extended versions?
Oh my god, they're
Aren't
so
they
long.
already really long?
They're so long. I love my friends, and that's the only reason why I did that.
I think we should, because I think it would be funny, just like sit down and watch those movies, but then just record us talking over it.
Okay. I'm down.
Probably alcohol involved, because that would be kind of funny.
Yeah.
And also probably the only way I would sit through a whole one of those movies.
Like I said, they're pretty. They're pretty to look at.
Yeah, I'd be like...
they're just boring.
They'll probably have some great commentary, so... You know what? For the patrons. We'll do it for the patrons.
For the patrons.
Patrons. Our lovely, wonderful fans. Yeah, we'll do it for them. Merry Christmas. Probably won't be done by Christmas or even New Year's, but it's a thought that
it's on the books.
It's coming up.
The more patrons we get, the sooner we'll do it.
Actually, that's true. If we have more patrons, I would actually feel pressured to give you guys like a lot more content. Not that I don't care about the patrons we have right now. I do love you guys, but like
Yes, thank you guys. We love you. We appreciate you.
making content is kind of hard. And so
Mhm.
if we had more people, it would be a little bit easier. All right. All right, let's talk about Anna and the Apocalypse, the movie we are gathered here today for.
I've got a synopsis.
Go for it.
A zombie apocalypse threatens the sleepy town of Little Haven at Christmas, forcing Anna and her friends to fight, slash, and sing their way to survival, facing the undead in a desperate race to reach their loved ones. This movie is officially labeled as a comedy horror musical, and it is. It also takes place at Christmas time, so the music is all Christmas music.
Yeah, I think what was it? We both worked at the movie theater when this came out.
Yeah, that's how I heard about
That's
it.
how we heard about it.
Yeah, there's a convention for movie theater managers, and it's called NATO, National Association of Theater Owners. And there was a behind the scenes slash trailer for this movie.
Mhm.
And it was just so crazy out there. I'm like, I have to write this down. I have to see this
I was
movie.
like, this is one I definitely have to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Directed by John McPhail, with a screenplay by Alan McDonald and Ryan McHenry, which is actually based on McHenry's short, which is Zombie Musical, that was also, fun fact, BAFTA nominated.
Oh, nice.
And it had like a lot of the actors and like the singers in the movie were like not popular yet.
Mhm.
I don't know if they are now.
I know Ben Higgins. That's about it.
Yeah, but yeah, it was probably one of, like, I remember one of my first impressions of it was like, oh, they can actually sing. It was
Mhm.
like literally a thought that I had, because I don't know, sometimes it bothers me when I go to watch a musical and like they start singing and it's like very obviously like auto-tuned, you know?
Yeah.
Like, this actor
Or
can
someone
actually
else.
sing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was like one of the first things I recognized when I was watching the movie. And then the other thing was that I actually kind of like the songs. They were kind of fun. Like,
Mhm.
they're extremely on the nose, but like it's
Oh,
also
yeah.
British. So what were you expecting?
Yeah. So I think like my first impression was it's a cheesy cliche stereotype high school musical drama romance with zombies and catchy Christmas music.
Yes. That kind of breaks all the cliches like throughout the thing.
Yeah.
Like its
It
like, point is to
yeah.
subvert.
Yeah. So I think I put that on my likes list was that it plays with expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you think one thing's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And then something else kind of happens instead.
Yeah, literally. And because I rewatched this like 2 days ago and took a bunch of notes while watching it.
I literally just rewatched it right before.
And I was genuinely surprised that it's still good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I still actually very much like this movie, because sometimes you watch it and then you forget about it and you're like, did I like that? I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I actually did end up liking it again.
2 years ago, I forced my siblings to watch it with me. And I say forced because so this came out in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
We watched it, I watched it shortly after it had come out, and then immediately bought it as soon as it was available. And I watched it a couple times, and then 2 years ago, I'm like, you know what? I know my siblings would love this.
Mm-hmm.
We're all home because we were all in quarantine pretty much. And I'm like, this is the perfect time. They can't leave. They have to watch this movie. They're gonna love it as much as I do.
Stop. Why did I do the exact same thing to my siblings? The exact same time too. I was like, it's Christmas and we're in quarantine. No one can go anywhere. You guys are all sitting and watching this movie.
Yeah. And so when they had me talk to them about it, and each time I told them about it, I tried to make it slightly different so that they like wouldn't catch on, or it's like to make them love it. And every time they're just like, this sounds like the weirdest fucking show ever. Like, there's no way that this is gonna be a good movie. And then they watched it, and at the end of it, they're all like, oh my god, this was the best movie ever. Like, I can't believe I didn't want to watch this movie. And I'm like, exactly. There's a reason why I forced you to watch this movie. It's because I knew you would like it.
Well, because I'm pretty sure in the trailer how they like advertise it is Shaun of the Dead meets La La Land.
That's true.
Like, that's perfect because
Shaun
of the Dead is hilarious. And is a musical. I wouldn't say it's quite La La Land, but
it's more High School Musical than La La Land.
More High School Musical.
Yeah.
But yeah. I like that.
I did the same thing with Michaela too. Was I forced her to watch it, and she ended up liking it because it's a good movie.
It is.
Yeah.
The characters are very well, like, they're like, they do the whole thing where it's like, oh yeah, it's like a cliche, but then like even within their like typical cliches, they all have like one extra layer just in their introduction that like makes you kind of interested to see like what happens to them, because they like, I can't even remember any of their names. I don't know why I didn't look up their names.
I have to write it down. I've got them. Which one are you thinking of? There's Anna, and then Lisa, the singer, her friend.
Oh yeah, Lisa's so funny.
Steph, the news girl.
Okay.
John is the comic relief friend.
Christmas shirt.
Yeah.
That doesn't change. He literally wears the same shirt twice.
Yeah.
Like, because it's 2 separate days. Like, you see them in the first day, and you get like introduced to everyone. You've got Anna, who's like, I'm not going to university. Her dad's a janitor at the school who drives them to school. John is her best friend who's in love with her, but like hasn't said anything, and also an artist. That's like what the first thing you learn in the movie, in the car ride. They get into the school. I think they walk past Steph, right?
Yeah. John tries to like, I think, drop off a toy or something for some toy drive, and then accidentally knocked everything over. Yeah.
And Steph is like talking to the
vice principal.
Yeah, who's soon to be headmaster, evil. Also, I think she's the only American in the movie.
Yeah.
And then you go into the cafeteria with Lisa and her friend, who I don't know. Chris?
Yeah.
LOL. And they're all obsessed with each other. And then you get the glance from across with
Nick. I wrote all the, I had to write the names down.
Of Nick, who everyone thinks that they like fucked, right? But they didn't actually.
No, they did.
Like, he told everyone or something?
No, they did. Because at the end, right before the gymnasium scene, where she goes to rescue her dad, Nick's just like, why do you hate me? I didn't tell anyone, I swear. And she's like, is that what you think this is all about? You think this is about the sex? I don't care about that. And he's like, oh, okay, then why are you mad? And she's like, because we talked about the future. We shared feelings with each other, and you just acted like nothing mattered. Like, you didn't care. That's why I'm mad.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh, okay. Like, he's like, it just like, yeah.
No, yeah, because that was one of the things that I was like, that's different about this movie than most high school movies. Is kind of like oh, well, like, we had sex and then you just pretended like you didn't know me, or like you like
I'm just another notch on your bedpost, yeah,
and stuff like that, or like, oh, like, we didn't even have sex and then you just told everyone that we had sex to keep up like your facade or whatever, like things like that. And I was like, oh, it's kind of fun that like. And, like, no one was shamed for the sex part.
Yeah.
Like, that was refreshing.
Yeah.
He was annoying, though. But I do think it's really interesting as far as how they explore masculinity.
Yeah. My favorite song is his song.
The Top of My Class one?
Yeah. I think I wrote it down as Soldier at War.
Oh, yeah, Soldier at War. Dude, no, same. That's probably my favorite song, too. And I'm not gonna lie, the way I literally could write an essay on how they like just that one song and like
Yeah.
cinematography and everything it says about all these characters is just absolutely chef's kiss.
Yeah.
But I won't get into that now.
That's one of the reasons why it's my favorite song is because it's pretty much the one, like, it's a zombie apocalypse, right? So everyone's
Yeah.
worried, they're all scared. And then any song that's not about that, kind of like before you figure out what's going on, it's all like high school drama songs. Like, I dream to be so much more. I want to get out of this small town. I hate my life type of stuff.
I like that all the songs literally just foreshadow what's going to happen later.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
But
the like song that they're singing, the like John and Anna, when they're like before they figure out what's the zombies and stuff.
I think that's I'm Ready.
This is a
Yeah.
good day.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like, you might be dead come tomorrow. And I was like, stop. It's so
Yeah. Yeah.
this isn't a Hollywood ending, like literally, thank you so much. And then they play it again at the ending.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you guys, stop. This was so unsubtle.
Yeah. Okay, so never mind. Well, so you have I'm Ready, which is a happy-ish song.
That's a cute song.
It is. But it's like, see, like, that's the thing. Like, it's a cute song. It's like, it's kind of like, it's trying to pull you up and get you like ready for the action. But then
that, like, Shaun of the Dead, like, no, like the main characters are completely unaware of what's happening.
Yeah.
Everything's wreaking havoc, but their mood is they're so oblivious.
Yeah. But then Soldier at War is just like so unabashedly like, I'm having fun.
Violent.
Like, let's fuck this shit up. Like, we're just gonna go for it. So it's just like you're dialing things to 10 and just running with it.
I guess maybe I should just talk about it now because we're on the topic. But the fact that it is so incredibly violent is also something that I think is so interesting because it also happens to be the group of like alpha male, like beta male, like the pack of dudes that are like absolutely, like, quite literally getting off on this violence. And you know, I'm talking literally because there's scenes intercut with like one guy, he like smashes a watermelon and they do the slow-mo of like the watermelon pieces like spraying his face with like his satisfied like look. And then I think like one guy has like a fishing pole that he like uses to drag a zombie in, and like he's holding it at like waist level.
He's holding it like right in front of his dick. Yeah.
Literally. And then the guy goes up to smash that zombie's head and they do a shot from in between his legs looking at the zombie as the zombie's looking up at him before he smashes it. And I was like, stop. Literally the like getting off on this violence and like being able to just be violent was like incredibly interesting to me. And I was like, why would they put so much effort into that? And it's just like very interesting because not only is it all like violence intercut with innuendo, but it's also specifically male gazy innuendo. And I just think that's absolutely perfect for the group of guys that's like obsessed with sex and that being attached to their image in high school and how they like operate in their lives. And I was like, that did not need to go that hard. Like, not need to go that deep into that just for that one song. But then it kind of like it tells you everything you need to know about the characters, is that like this is like all they know essentially. And then the guy Nick, you find out later that like that was his whole issue with his dad. Was his dad was like the army guy that's like, you need to be masculine, you can't let me down, blah blah blah. And that was his whole internal thing. And I was like, I love that song. It's just done very well for that character, you know? Yeah, so that is my very, very short synopsis of the essay I could write on this song.
Their songs, so I actually had to write it down while I was watching it. But the songs help like alleviate some of the violence because it is all very violent. Blood, guts, head smashing. But the songs, like, not only do they help like alleviate some of that and teach you more about the characters and give you exposition about what's going to happen. it all works together so that it's not just violence for violence sake, because like that's what you see in a lot of like zombie monster movies.
Yeah.
Is like the monster's here, now we got to kill it, and because like usually zombie movies, because it's a zombie, we're gonna make this as bloody and gory as possible.
Yeah, because it's not a real human.
Yeah. Yeah, but then the songs add like a layer of comedy to the scene. And then they give you like character exposition, they give you character information, sometimes plot information depending on the scene. And it's all just really well done, and it keeps you more engaged in the film. And because they do that, the film's actually a little bit shorter than most films. It's only an hour 33 minutes.
That's what I love about musicals, is the songs as like internal monologues for the literal characters, and like what their arcs and like their arcs, decision making.
I don't like musicals because of that.
I love that. It's like the one, because I don't see in movies, like when they just do it through like you know, it's that thing where it's like the guy's talking on the TV and he's like, so today on blah blah blah, we did this thing, and I'm just gonna drop in all this information that you need to know. It's 2017 and the zombies have just taken over, and the army is now going to have to come and airlift everyone out. And it's like the first scene of the movie, and you're like, okay, you could have just, I don't know, world built it, but sure, just give it to us like that. It's like lazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I hate that.
I don't mind it.
I do like about musicals, because like oftentimes in musicals, and I mean musicals as in like plays and stuff too, is like the whole like learning the internal monologues and like ideas and character developments through their songs, and how they use like music as a way to do that. Absolutely love musicals. I think
I'm not a huge fan of musicals, and that's one of the reasons why.
That's fair. This is the first musical I think that we've done on the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love a good musical. What's funny is that I think growing up I didn't like musicals. But I think now...
Oh, I didn't, for sure.
Like now that I'm older and like know what they're doing and like what they're supposed to be doing, I like it a lot more. Besides
I'm not a huge musical fan because they tend to be longer, and I find that I get bored in some of those like character exposition songs.
Yeah.
And then mostly I just find it so hard to concentrate on the music and what they're trying to say in the song that I just don't hear anything.
Yeah, because sometimes it's not done very well.
No.
Like sometimes like there's the times when they do like, this is the song and it's gonna be like super fun, and you're like, okay, but like what does it have to do with the story? And then sometimes they're like, okay, this is like an actual like song that tells you like, and it progresses the plot forward. Whereas some of them are just songs for song's sake. I don't like songs for song's sake.
Yeah. It messes with the pacing for me, which is why I don't like it. It's also why I don't really mind when they have like that radio or the TV going on in the background, and they're like, it's 2017, the zombies just happened, let's airlift people out. Because like that is like a 15-second blurb. We've got the setting, we know where we're at, we can get on with the movie.
Like, I don't want a 6-minute like dance number.
Yeah.
Love that. Love the good dance number. Which also this film does a great job of. I actually like the dance numbers.
They were really
They're
good.
Cute.
Yeah, they're cute.
Very well choreographed. I like that they kind of play on the whole thing of like, this is a musical, and in real life, like these things would not be happening. Like the whole "This Is Not a Hollywood Ending" song, where they like are on all the tables and the bell rings, and they just all just like scurry off to class, but then they stop what they're doing, jump off the tables, and like sprint across the room. It was so funny to me. But yeah. Those are just specific to, I guess, like musical things that I really like. That like this one did really well, in my opinion. Because I like that essentially the whole plot of this movie is not like it's not just a zombie movie or like a Christmas movie or a coming of age story. It's kind of like all of it as like an analogy for coming of age, and like
Yeah.
these kids are basically like, oh, we're now being thrust into, because they're all seniors, I believe.
Yeah, they make it seem like they're all graduating that year.
And they all like are just being thrust into this world where nothing is certain, which is literally what it feels like when you're that age going off to college, and like the world, you're like, I have no idea what's gonna happen. In this case, literally, because there's zombies and their world's been turned completely upside down. But then add on the layer of the villain being the literal like teacher that's supposed to prepare them for all of this. Like, no, actually, I'm just gonna throw you to the wolves because I care more about me and having control over the things that like I want to have control over, that I'm not going to prepare you guys for what's to come, because why should I if that wasn't done for me?
Yeah.
Is that not just a very big generational thing? Let's see.
So I've got two things about the vice principal. The first is he actually had a villain song, like all to himself. Well, so he had at least two songs that were cut. One was like a duet with Anna's dad, titled, I think, like "Whose Side Are You On?" because they're
hilarious,
pretty opposed to each other. But then he had a villain song. Oh, and they cut that "Whose Side Are You On" song because it didn't work with the pacing and it made the movie too long. But his villain song was cut because it made him too evil, and they didn't want him like
pretty evil.
Yeah, well, imagine he is really evil. Like right off the bat, he's really evil. But like this song, it made him more evil.
More evil than literally releasing zombies onto the only people you know that are alive, because
Yep.
Oh my god. Because he's like, I want to be in charge. Like, bro,
Yep.
do you think you could control zombies? Whatever.
I want to find that song though. I want to know like how much more evil could he get?
Yeah.
The second thing, huh?
I kind of want to know what the song is now.
Yeah, I know. I'll check. I'll have to check the extra features, see if there's like any deleted scenes. But the second thing about the vice principal is the actor Paul Kaye was also in Game of Thrones, and he also died by zombie, except it was a zombie bear.
That's hilarious. I was trying to figure out why he looked familiar.
Yeah, he's Game of Thrones. He's also Sherlock. So
that's funny.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Interesting. Yeah. Neat. I think one of my favorite things too about this movie is that it, like, even though Anna has like a love interest kind of, like, she doesn't necessarily have a love interest plot. The guys have a love interest plot and she's a part of their plot, but her plot doesn't really revolve around them. Her thing was like, oh, I need to find my like family and like I want to apologize and stuff like that, and like figuring out like who she is, etc. I also enjoyed. Oh, go ahead.
Just with the romance plots. I'm sure other movies have done it. In probably like in a more subtle way. But this is the first movie that I can remember or think of right now where she sets a boundary with her best friend.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you're my friend, right? Like to be fair, like she doesn't explicitly say like, I'm not attracted to you. Like I don't see you in a like romantic way, but she does very explicitly, let him know like, hey, I know you like me. I don't like that. I don't like you that way. Yeah.
And he literally is like, got it.
Yeah.
And he
doesn't fight back, doesn't try to convince her. Yeah. He sees the boundary, takes it as it is, and is like, okay, you know what? Like from this point forward, whatever happens is my fault. Like, I can't, she said her piece, I said my piece, we're done.
Yeah. One of the saddest, spoiler alert, deaths in the whole movie. Like that one, every time I'm just like, he literally says this like stupid joke when they're trying to
Yeah.
figure out the names of the freaking reindeer
Yeah.
and like of Santa's sleigh. He like throws his hand out and gets bit.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like, no, like maybe you'll be fine. And he's like, well, I'm dying anyway, so
Yeah. Let me be a shield to get you to safety.
heartbreaking. Her performance then is really good too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Dang. Yeah, that made me sad. Like it's still that one still gets me. That one and when she later is like talking to her dad and her dad's like, "Look, I've been bit, like you have to go."
Yeah.
Go out with like the guy and then she's like, "Well, do you want me to help? Like you die before you become a zombie."
Oh yeah.
And the kid is like, "No." And it's like from that place of like I did that with my dad and that's not something anybody should have to go through.
Yeah. Yeah.
I sob.
I think the dad's death was probably the saddest for me.
I also
Especially because he's essentially what is driving the story forward.
literally
Because Anna is our main character. We follow her and her journey to find her dad and save her dad, and she fails. Like
She
she's
absolutely
not
fails.
She's not successful. Yeah.
Good ending.
True. Yeah. So that's really unique for a film with having your hero fail.
It's funny too. This is going back to a little bit more of like, I guess, history as far as musicals go. Is that like at a certain point in like the history of musicals, that kind of became what musicals were like for, was to kind of have like a way that's less depressing to talk about depressing subjects.
Mhm.
And like essentially like break reality or like talk about reality in a way that is like fantastical and whatnot. I think one of the movies that does it really well is it's actually French. It's called like The Umbrellas of Chandelou, I think I'm saying that.
Yeah.
But it's basically like in the beginning, it's this like really great, fantastical like song thing where they're like experiencing a great romance. And so all of the scenes are like really well choreographed and they have all of those things where like the birds start singing and like there's just like really random times when they're literally floating through space and time and nothing else matters. But then as like the story gets more and more serious, their songs get more and more grounded in reality, whereas there's not big musical numbers anymore. Or like the songs are happening during like a literal like fight or something like that, which I thought was really cool about this movie too, was because they did essentially the same thing in this one. It starts off with like this isn't a Hollywood ending, they're all like fantastically dancing and all of that stuff, but then as you go through the story, the songs become part of their way of fighting, part of their way of literally surviving, and then at the end it's like a Hail Mary almost. I think for like just the general plot. Like of course there's some songs that kind of fall a little bit out of that, mainly the villain guy's song because he hasn't had a song yet and his is definitely a little bit more fantastical, but that's because it's his inner monologue. But yeah, it's really cool that they do that. But then when it also comes to the ending of this film, I think it was really cool to have like the lesbian save the day.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, yes, thank you. And I liked that her character wasn't like they made it clear that she was a lesbian, but they
Mhm.
did not make everything about her having to do with her queerness.
I mean, aside from the fact that she had a girlfriend, I don't think you would have known otherwise. Aside
Yeah,
from
like
maybe her haircut, if you really read into it, because she had a pixie.
if yeah, like if you stereotyped her, I guess, into
Mhm.
that. Yeah, because like her whole thing is she wants to tell like the truth and like stories and stuff. She doesn't have her parents around because they are in Mexico. Her girlfriend doesn't want to be with her on Christmas, so she's just kind of like, well, I guess I'm just here and I want to do these things. But then so she has her own like personality, and on top of that is also a lesbian. Like it's not like she's like the quote unquote lesbian character who's like, oh, you guys, I'm a lesbian and I think this is offensive, or like what.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we don't need that in all of our like if you're going to have representation in film, they shouldn't have to be teaching you about their representation as you're watching them. They can be represented as actual human beings and not textbooks on what their representation is. So I really like that about her character, because I feel like you see that a little too often when it comes to like queer representation in movies. Like it very much is like, I'm gay. Hi. And
and that's half my personality.
Yeah, and it was like, okay, they're not even a person now, they're just a caricature. So I like that she was like an actual character, and that they included like she did get to include that part of herself, but it wasn't like overwhelming the rest of her character. And also she lived, which like unfortunately very rarely happens. Very gayish trope. Anyone?
Yeah,
she actually lives. Not only that, she saves the day, which is wonderful.
So are you ready for Fuck, Marry, Friendzone?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so just to go over the men again. The three that I wrote down were John, the best friend, comic relief. Nick, the jock, top
boy.
pretty boy, thank you. And then Chris, the boyfriend, the grounded,
the us characters.
Yeah, the us characters.
Do you think Justin Bieber's a zombie?
Oh yeah. When Michaela and I were watching the film, when they were talking about that's like in that scene when he's like, "Did you know Justin Bieber's a zombie?" Like we looked at each other and we're like, "This is literally a conversation we would be having if we were there at that moment."
Literally, I was like, "That's the funniest, like the funniest, most like." Also kind of sad, but like that whole song where they're like, I need a human voice, because all they're able to do is be online, and like that's their entire generation. They're like, okay, well, like what do I do now that like this is all and it honestly is like probably different after COVID, when because this came out before, but like after COVID, watching something with that plot line is like a little bit more hard hitting, because like we quite literally watched that happen. So yeah, here's to collective trauma. But they literally played it very well in the movie.
Agreed.
But yeah. Anyway, back to FMF.
But yeah, so those are the three: Chris, John, and Nick.
And Chris is the video guy.
Yeah.
And even though he was really like not in the movie that much, like I feel like his plot compared to everyone else's was like a little less. It still had the depth of like, oh, I'm really smart and I have these things, but like, what's the purpose? Like, what's the meaning? What's the spice, the flavor?
Well, and his thing too was, his thing was discovering more about himself and putting that in the video for school. And then he almost lost his phone, and so he had to go back and he got his phone like at the risk of his life, and then he used the phone and the story for school to save Anna.
Yeah.
So like it gave him a full, like, despite the fact that he was just like this random character that just got pulled in every once in a while, he had a full character arc.
Full arc. Which is so nice. They all did. Which is very nice, because I feel like you don't get that a lot.
No, not with a large cast.
especially now because we have a lot of like episodic movies where they're
Mhm.
basically just like a movie that's setting you up for the next movie. They don't finish people like the characters' arcs all the way, and
Mhm.
that's one of the things that bothers me to no end. But I feel like this movie would be a really great example of like you can leave something open ended for possibility of more and still have a completed character arc.
Yeah.
That's just enough. Oh my goodness. But anyway, now we can go back to FMX. Do you want to go first?
Ooh, that's hard. I'd probably fuck Chris. Just, one done, get him kind of out of the way because then I could marry Nick because he's smart and he survives and he knows how to protect me. So he can protect me from the zombies. And then I would friend zone John because he could sacrifice himself to save me.
Whitney.
I mean, he out of all the fight scenes, he did the least. The only
Yeah,
good thing
really
he did
He
was
did not.
sacrifice himself for Anna.
Yeah, like Anna. I mean,
And I'm
'cause
trying to
Anna can take
survive the
care of
zombie
herself.
apocalypse here.
What's funny is I was gonna choose the exact same thing, but for different reasons. I was gonna be like, screw Chris because like, well, probably the same reason, like when it's done, whatever. I would marry Nick, but that's just because like
Because
hard
he's a
to
pretty boy?
explain. Not that, but like he has like more to him than just being in love with me.
Uh-huh.
Like if I was Anna in this situation.
Yeah.
And I would still friend zone what's his name? John. I
John.
would friend zone John. Yeah. Because like I'm sorry, but his whole thing is just being in love with you. Like I'm
Yeah.
that-
Well, and she literally put him in the friend zone too.
yeah. So yeah.
Sorry, John.
But that's just like a personal thing. Other people can totally just be like, oh yeah, this person's one thing is me.
Mm-hmm.
Fine.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want that.
Yeah, if you want it, like if you like being the center of someone's world, John is your guy.
John is your guy. And like, look, it's not that I don't like being the center of people's world. It's just that like I want to be able to do my own thing sometimes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
Agreed.
like I
got my hobbies, you can have your hobbies.
I really like being by myself. Like I love it. I love being alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's in like a healthy way. Like I
Yeah.
don't mind spending time with myself and being lost in my own thoughts, and like I will go days without saying words out loud to a single person and will not recognize it. Why? Because there's so many things that I have to like think about.
Mm-hmm.
That, like I don't need to be entertained by another person for like all the time. Like I need to be able to like have some separation.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah. That would be my thing. It's called The
Nice.
Umbrellas of Cherbourg. The Umbrellas of Cherbourg. Okay, yes. That is the English title. Which I'm only bringing up because this is one of my recommendations. If you like this movie. And it's really good. I think you can find it on I think it's on HBO Max. And as
Oh.
a fun fact, if people really liked La La Land, they'll definitely like this movie because it was one of the movies that like kind of inspired La La Land.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, I would recommend that one. Also Shaun of the Dead because classic zombie movie, but then also Zombie Land because great comedic zombie film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I really like have so many I feel like I watch a lot of zombie things. So weird.
No, I'm not a huge fan of zombie movies. I have seen a lot, maybe not a lot, but I've seen a good handful of them. I don't like zombie movies because it's all pretty much body horror, and
Yeah,
that's
that's
not my
fair.
thing.
That's fair. Because what was the first one? Or not the first one, but like one of the more popular ones. One of the early popular zombie films.
There's so many, like Night of the
Night
Living
of the
Dead.
Living Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jinx? What the heck? We say the same exact thing. Yeah, but like that one was really good, the first one. And then they like, did the whole capitalism franchise thing with it. But the first one was like really good because that was basically a look at like using horror as a way to critique society.
Yeah.
So we've talked about that endless times on this podcast. One of our favorite things.
Mhm.
So yeah, maybe watch that if you haven't, because it's great. Also, one of the first movies where like the black character like gets to be a hero,
Mhm.
especially in that time period of movies.
Oh yeah, because that was that the 50s? Or is that too early?
No, I think it was around that time. 'Cause it had sound.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't in color, but I want to
Mm-hmm.
say it was around maybe 60s actually.
Okay. But it's pretty early for Hollywood.
Yeah, because it was about the war
Mm-hmm.
and critiquing like the government and how it responded to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Vietnam War.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so yeah. Those are my suggestions. I mean, if you want more like, I was gonna say more musicals of like just like
I've got that list.
Mamma Mia.
That's so okay. If you want musical recommendations, um, High School Musical, High School Musical, the movie, not the TV show. More the first one than the second one.
Not High School Musical, the musical, the series.
I don't know anything about it.
Give it such a long title.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anything about the. I had
think
enough
you should watch
with one
the
and two.
score is for Olivia Rodrigo.
But High School Musical, the new movie Spirited.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes.
With Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds.
Yes. Talk about musicals being a critique on society. That is a very good example.
Yep. And then another musical is called London Road. And it is about when 5 prostitutes are found dead in their community residence of London Road in Ipswich, Suffolk, come together to process the events and revitalize the community. It's got Tom Hardy in it, surprisingly. But yeah, it's about this community coming together when a serial killer is kind of like in their neighborhood, and they don't know what to do.
Remember?
No, it's more modern.
Okay.
It's actually, I'm pretty sure it's based off real events too, of like the early 2000s.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's a musical. It's pretty good. I randomly watched that one. I went after, I think like after or before one of my shifts at the theater. I just had like extra time, needed to kill some time, and that was the only movie starting. And so I'm just like, fuck it, why not watch it, even though it's a musical? And I actually got really into it.
That's fair. Yeah, I have to watch that. I I had never heard of that one, but it sounds great.
Yeah, it is. It is. I really like it. Definitely recommend.
Watch.
I do have other films to recommend based off of what this movie was influenced by. So according to the director, this movie was influenced by West Side Story, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, The Breakfast Club, and the musical episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
The musical episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I love. Amazing. No, that's like literally wow. Like you said every single one of those, and immediately I was like, makes complete sense.
Yep. Yeah.
This is the manifestation. Like if I had to imagine the manifestation of all of those being one thing, it would be this. That's what it would be.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. That's good. All right. Well, what would you rate it out of 10?
Okay, so originally, I've changed my rating, but originally I rated it 8 out of 10.
Mhm.
But the more we talk about this film, the higher I have to rate it. So I think I might be like a 9 or a 9.5 out of 10 right now.
That's fair. I probably would also give it like maybe an 8.5.
Mhm.
But only for the reasons of like it's incredibly on the nose and that's not everybody's thing. And like they have this whole thing with like puns, which is also a very controversial thing.
Fucking love the puns.
I know, I was like, we like puns, but other people don't like puns that often.
Yeah.
So like just because it's a very specific type of humor, it might turn some people off. Like it's whatever. There was another thing I was gonna say. And I can't remember.
It is a little predictable.
Yeah, it's kind of predictable. And I do feel okay. This is like a weird thing to like say, but sometimes when there's like musical numbers and there's like musicals, the like literal like audio mixing, like it felt like sometimes it was a little quiet when they were singing.
Mhm.
Like it wasn't as loud as like their regular audio.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was literally it. But like, and specifically only for Top of My Class, like he would hit like some high notes, which would be in like falsetto, but they would like make it like, I don't know, it was weird. Like there wasn't a lot of power behind it.
I know, yeah. I know
That's just,
exactly
like,
what you're talking about.
thing that like I was like, oh dang, that sucks. But yeah, that's just like me having a job where I work with musicians and have now had these things and just bludgeoned into my brain. So
Mhm.
8.5 out of 10. Definitely recommend. Wonderful Christmas movie. Y'all should watch it.
Yep. Yep, agreed.
All right. Well, I guess we are now at the end of this podcast episode. So quick shout out to our VIP patrons on Patreon. We've got Susan Johnson and Kawana Coleman. Thank you guys so much for being VIPs. We absolutely adore
Yay!
it. If you guys would like to support us on Patreon, you can go to our website or bio. It will be literally wherever you see this episode will be in the description. You guys can go there and yeah. Please don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, comment, share. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. And if you do follow us, remember you will get shout out. You'll get access to all sorts of extra things, including our Discord, where we do watch alongs and we share stuff with you that the regular listeners won't have access to.
Exactly. Which includes early releases of episodes that will be coming out later on. And also just like more fun content and hopefully merch soon. So keep an eye out for that. Also, if you're not following along on our Instagram right now, we're doing a 25 days of Christmas movies, where we're basically trying to find one Christmas movie for every day leading up to Christmas that has what we consider non-traditional or genuine representations of women in Hollywood, or not Hollywood, in Christmas. I was about to say Hallmark. In Christmas movies. So if you guys have any recommendations for that, definitely get in touch with us, DM us, comment, etc. Yeah, because we will need all the help we can get, because 25 is a lot when you think about it as far as good representation of women. So yeah, all right. I think that's all I have for you guys. Wendy, do you have anything? No?
No.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will talk to you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.